Have you ever noticed that when you're using a Sony lens on your camera body, the stabilization works better than if you're using a third-party lens? Well, it's actually because it does. In this video, I'm going to show you exactly what I mean.
This video is sponsored by the Professional Photographers of America. Join a community of over 35,000 photographers, find equipment insurance, education, and business tools made specifically for small business owners like you.
Here's a really quick example of exactly what I mean with a Sony lens at 200mm, and then exactly the same shot on a Tamron lens at 200mm. Now, when you're on a wider lens, like a 24mm G Master, like right now from Sony, you might not be able to tell the difference. But if we swap out to a Samyang 24mm, see if you can tell the difference. So now we're using the Samyang 24mm, exactly the same shot. If I put them side by side, are you able to tell any difference between the Sony and the Samyang? As I said, at 24mm, when things are a bit wider, you might not be able to. Now, the aim of this video is to show you at different focal lengths, really how evident it can become. So, I've got a bunch of lenses right here. Third party, Sony, Sony, third party, Sony, 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 third party on the camera here, third party on the camera right there. And we'll see how they all perform over a variety of focal lengths. So the stabilization we're actually referring to in this video is active stabilization built within the A7 IV, the A7S, the FX3, other Sony bodies. The way it works is it crops a little bit into the sensor. It's a digital stabilization, and then it uses the bit that it's cropped in by around the edges there to stabilize things. Now, that's not to be confused with OSS, which is optical steady shot, which is built within certain Sony lenses and some other third-party lenses like Tamron. It's called VC, vibration control. Now, if you have a lens that has OSS or VC built into it with the active stabilization within Sony bodies, together both are going to work really well, even if it's a third-party lens. But it again will work better with a Sony lens. So what I'm going to do is record the same clip with two different lenses. I'll start with the third-party lens. Active stabilization is on the FX3 right now. We're going to shoot handheld, as that's typically what you would do. Keep those elbows in, and I'll pick something that I'll try and keep in the center so that there's an easy comparison. We'll start with the Samyang 24mm here, and we're going to put the sign right in the middle. I'm just going to get it exposed. So this is the Samyang 24mm. So now we're using the 24mm G Master from Sony. And now we're on the Tamron 20 to 40mm here, zoomed all the way in to 40mm. And for the Sony 40mm, we're using the 24 to 70 G Master Mark II at 40mm.
What are your thoughts so far? Did you even know this was actually a thing, third party versus Sony lens stabilization? Pop a comment down below and let me know. Now, as I said at the beginning, this video is sponsored by PPA. They're actually a non-profit, and if you're a photographer with your own business, here's a few reasons why you might actually like a PPA membership. Now, if you have a photography business, you obviously need to have camera gear to go with that, and if this gets broken, then you don't really have much of a business. PPA will give you up to $15,000 of equipment insurance. If something happens, $50 flat fee deductible to get it repaired, or a $350 flat fee deductible for a full replacement value. That will give you peace of mind from damage, theft, forced entry, and other unforeseen events. Now, you also get access to PPA's Indemnification Trust. That's there to help you with data loss, negligence, and malpractice protection. Things you never want to happen, but you have the help if you need it. There's also a bunch of copyright resources you can use, contract templates you can download, customize for your business. You'll also get your first year free pass to Imaging USA. Click on the link down below to learn more about PPA, and if you end up wanting to sign up, clicking on that link will get you access to an exclusive discount code just automatically. Back to the video.
So now we're swapping out to the Tamron 50 to 400, which has vibration control, so Tamron's version of OSS. Well, that has to be left on within the lens. If you turn it off, it turns it off on the camera, and you can't have active stabilization on. So know that going into the tests with the Tamron 50 to 400. So this is the Tamron 50 to 400 at 50mm. We're at f4.5. So now we're on the 50mm G Master. This doesn't have any vibration control, but like the Tamron did at 50mm. So this is entirely active stabilization. So this will be a good comparison for this lens versus a lens that actually has technically a leg up. So 50mm G Master, f1.2 at f4.5, same as the Tamron there, with no lens stabilization, just the active. So this is where I expect to start seeing a more noticeable difference. Now we're at 75mm on the Samyang 75mm VAF lens. Back to the Sony 24 to 70 G Master Mark II. Don't have 75, so we're at 70. Back on the Tamron now, we're at f5.6, 135mm with the active stabilization turned on. The lens vibration control is turned on as well. Definite shakes on the back of the screen, probably even bigger when you're looking on a bigger screen. unless it's your phone. So now we're on the Sony 135mm, which doesn't have any lens stabilization like the Tamron just did at 135, entirely active stabilization. Again at f5.6. All right, Tamron 50-400 at 200 mils, f6.3. It's shaky. Even on the back of the screen, it is shaky. Sony 7200 f4 at 6.3, f6.3 that is, same as the Tamron at 200 mil. Now there is one more example I can foresee using active stabilization. You'd want to use a gimbal typically for this, but let's say you'll walk in and you didn't have a gimbal. So firstly, with the Samyang 75mm at f4.5 on the FX3, it looks very shaky on the back of the screen, but we're trying our best. And now the same test on the 24-70 at 70mm. So not 75, not quite 75, but pretty close. And just looking on the back of the screen, it definitely looks more stable. If you're wondering what that like lingering sound has been throughout this whole video, it's that. This is just a nice location to shoot in, as you can kind of see here. But yeah, I already shot this video once, had to come back and do it with lapel mics. So it's obvious that Sony glass does perform better on Sony bodies in terms of stabilization, the active stabilization. But is it enough to make you want to use Sony glass exclusively? I think it kind of depends on what it is that you shoot. If you're shooting typically wider things, like we showed at the beginning there, it's not as obvious. In some situations, you really can't tell. So you might not need to. The nice thing with Sony E-mount is that there's such a variety of different companies that make different lenses, so you're spoiled for choice, really. But if you're shooting with telezoom lenses like sports, wildlife, that's where Sony glass is probably going to be a benefit for you. It's obviously more stable, it's smoother. When you see like the digital kind of quirkiness where it moves around a little bit, it's smoother on the Sony glass than it is on the third-party glass. So you might want to consider that. I'm not here to tell you what to do, I'm just here to show you the examples and help you make like a semi-educated decision. That's all I got for you in this video. I'll see you in the next one. Take care.